Chapter 15. The Galaxy Aroused and Vane's Fall. The silence that blanketed the galaxy after the Veritas Protocol's broadcast was not the silence of peace, but the chilling hush before a storm. Billions of sentient beings, from the highest council chambers to the grimiest mining outposts, had just witnessed a truth so profound, so devastating, it threatened to unravel the very fabric of their known universe. The truth, unfiltered and undeniable, had landed. Then the storm broke. On Xylos Prime, by the humming ancient beacon of truth, Alara Reese swayed, her knees weak with exhaustion and a grief so sharp it stole her breath. Tears, hot and silent, streamed down her face, blurring the distant fiery remnants of the rogue star streaking across the sky. Rex Vance's final, defiant act. He was gone. The thought ripped through her, a raw, aching wound. But he hadn't died in vain. Not a single second of his courage had been wasted. The truth for which he'd given everything was out. Ghost, ever the unreadable phantom, stood beside her, his mirrored visor reflecting the chaotic, flickering images of the galaxy now erupting on their portable comms. He didn't speak, but Alara felt a quiet, almost imperceptible shift in his presence. A grim respect for the man who had traded his life for a universal awakening. Rex had been a force of nature, a blunt instrument of chaos that in Ghost's precise world somehow made perfect sense. He had shattered the illusion with pure, unadulterated defiance. Suddenly, a ragged, tortured sound tore through the whipping wind. Commander Valerius, who had been kneeling in the dust, his Shadowkeeper armor still sparking from Ghost's last attack, slowly pushed himself up. His transparent visor, usually a window to cold, unwavering fanaticism, now showed eyes wide with a horrifying, mind-numbing mix of confusion, betrayal, and a dawning, soul-crushing despair. The Veritas Protocol had flooded his own internal comms, forcing him to witness Grand Admiral Theron Vane's precise, merciless orders for civilian slaughter, the meticulously crafted lies, the complete and utter deception. He lied, Valerius rasped, his voice a broken whisper, utterly devoid of its former zealotry. The synthesized filter on his helmet seemed to crack with his emotion. The Admiral, he betrayed everything, every principle, every sacrifice. His entire existence, his unwavering loyalty to Vane and the fabricated order he championed, had been built on a foundation of lies. The shock of this truth was a psychological blow, far more potent than any physical weapon. His faith, his purpose had just been vaporized. As the first, fragmented reports of galactic reaction began to filter through the comms, Valerius's remaining Shadowkeepers, a small, bewildered group who had also seen the broadcast on their internal displays, began to slowly, uncertainly lower their energy weapons. Their movements were heavy, disbelieving. Their once unquestioning devotion was visibly fracturing, replaced by a dawning horror at the undeniable evidence. They were soldiers, yes, but they were also beings who had believed they fought for justice. Now they knew they had been pawns in a monstrous lie. Above Xylos Prime, Grand Admiral Theron Vane's personal flagship, the Iron Will, still hung, its massive weapon ports still glowing faintly from the blast that consumed the rogue star. But its aggressive posture had faltered. Its long-range comms, like every other system in the galaxy, were now flooded with the Veritas Protocol. Its bridge crew, its officers, its rank and file, all were witnessing the same devastating truth that had just ripped through galactic consciousness. The chain of command, once ironclad, was already starting to fray. Whispers, then murmurs, then outright questions began to circulate amongst the Admiral's own loyalists. Suddenly, a new signal, urgent and heavily encrypted, reached Alara's comm. It was Whisper, the Libertonian contact, his mental voice resonating with a mix of profound sorrow and quiet triumph. Alara Reese, Ghost, your courage has awakened the sleeping galaxy. The truth has been unleashed. A new dawn has broken. But know this, the consequences will be severe. Grand Admiral Vane will not fall easily, and the Council in its desperation will seek to suppress this new narrative with every ounce of their remaining might. You must disappear, Whisper urged, his mental voice growing more insistent. Go to the coordinates I am now sending. It is a hidden sanctuary, known only to a few trusted allies. A place where you can grieve, where you can gather your thoughts, and where you will be safe for a time. And there, when the galaxy has had time to truly feel the shockwaves of truth, we will discuss the next crucial phase of this war for freedom and justice. Alara's jaw tightened. She knew Whisper was right. They had dropped a truth bomb on the galaxy, yes, but they were still just two individuals, a grieving scientist and a silent operative, against the wounded, enraged might of the Council and a desperate, cornered Grand Admiral. The immediate triumph was intoxicating, but the long, arduous fight for true change had only just begun. "Valerius," Alara said, her voice firm despite the tremor of grief, addressing the shattered commander who now looked like a ghost in his own armor. "What will you do now? Your admiral is exposed. Your mission, your entire belief, it was a lie." Valerius slowly, painfully, rose to his feet. He looked at his own bewildered shadow keepers, their faces showing the same shattering realization that now haunted his own. Then he looked at Alara, his eyes visible through the now transparent visor, filled with a profound, terrible grief, a sense of loss that dwarfed the battlefield. I served a lie. I blindly followed. I will choose the truth now. My path is no longer with Vane." He turned to his remaining keepers. His voice, though still synthesized, carried a new, heavy weight of conviction, a desperate clarity. "Our mission is over. We have been deceived. Grand Admiral Vane is a traitor to the true order, a betrayer of all we believed in." His words hung heavy in the air, a final public renunciation of his past. Without another word, Valerius and his bewildered, traumatized shadow keepers retreated. They didn't move towards the Iron Will, now a looming symbol of deceit, but towards their own transport shuttles, a desperate, broken group seeking their own answers in the suddenly chaotic galaxy. Their future was profoundly uncertain, but one thing was chillingly clear: they were no longer Vane's loyal hounds. Their fanaticism was broken, replaced by a desperate, agonizing need for a true reckoning. Alara and Ghost quickly boarded a small, unmarked shuttle they had discreetly brought with them, a vital backup plan if the rogue star failed, a grim testament to Rex's foresight. Alara took the pilot's seat, her hands steady despite her inner turmoil, and Ghost, without a word, took co-pilot. They ascended from Xylos Prime, leaving the silent, powerful beacon of truth to continue its endless, unstoppable broadcast. A relentless beacon of raw, unedited history, shining light into every dark corner of the galaxy. As they jumped to hyperspace, leaving the smoldering planet behind, Alara watched the galactic news channels flicker into existence on their comms. The galaxy was not just in uproar, it was in a state of seismic shock, a grand awakening. Coruscant Prime was a scene of unparalleled, righteous fury. Riots erupted in the gleaming, pristine streets, fueled by outrage and betrayal. Citizens, from all species and every walk of life, took to the streets, demanding answers, demanding immediate justice. The Grand Museum of Galactic History, already damaged by their daring infiltration, became a vivid, tangible symbol of the Council's profound lies. Its curated exhibits, once revered, were now seen as monuments to systematic deception, monuments to the very falsehoods that had enslaved galactic consciousness for centuries. The Galactic Council's High Tribunal, initially convened in a frantic attempt to contain the crisis, was a chaotic, televised spectacle. Voices were raised, accusations hurled. The holographic projections of council members across the galaxy were filled with fury, fear, and thinly veiled attempts to deflect blame. Grand Admiral Theron Vane, initially appearing via holo projection from the Iron Will, and desperately trying to dismiss the Veritas Protocol as sophisticated terrorist propaganda or libertonian extremist fabrications, quickly found himself overwhelmed. The sheer volume, the irrefutable clarity, and the undeniable authenticity of the evidence rendered his denials useless. Every data point, every encrypted order, every falsified combat report, all now laid bare for the entire galaxy to see, verified by independent experts who couldn't ignore the raw data. Major news syndicates, long controlled by council censorship and propaganda, were forced to confront the truth. Their anchors, usually composed, stammered through reports, their faces a mixture of shock and terror, as their own networks were flooded with the Veritas Protocol. Independent news networks, long suppressed and operating from the fringes, exploded with unbridled commentary, analysis, and triumphant calls for revolution. The truth went viral, a contagious wave of understanding, unstoppable and undeniable, spreading faster than any virus. Reports poured in from every sector, painting a picture of escalating unrest and systemic breakdown. The Cut-Hair Corporation, whose cunning had been manipulated by Vane and whose own network was inadvertently breached by the broadcast, quickly retaliated. They officially released all encrypted data stolen by Alara's siphon during the Vault heist, further discrediting the Council and exposing layers of corporate corruption linked to Vane's schemes. Their message was clear: no one manipulates Kater and gets away with it. The Crimson Daggers, true to their mercenary nature, were already expertly leveraging the chaos. Their vast information network, initially used for profit, was now fully deployed to amplify the Veritas Protocol, discreetly feeding more incriminating data to burgeoning rebel cells and independent factions across the galaxy. They saw not just truth, but an opportunity to reshape the galactic power structure in their favor, away from Council dominance. Crimson Blade herself appeared on fringe broadcasts, subtly encouraging the unrest. Numerous Federation military units, especially those with a strong sense of honor and justice, began to question their orders. Isolated reports of mutiny, insubordination, and even mass defections began to surface as soldiers realized they had been fighting and dying for a lie. Grand Admiral Theron Vane tried to maintain control from the Iron Will, his face a mask of contorted fury and desperation. He issued increasingly frantic orders to shut down the broadcast, to brand Rex and Alara as galactic terrorists and enemies of peace, but his commands were met with hesitation, even open defiance from his own officers. The Veritas Protocol had not only exposed his true nature to the galaxy, but to his own command. The loyalty he had meticulously cultivated fractured. Within hours, calls for Vane's immediate arrest and a full-scale, transparent investigation into the Council's entire historical record became a roaring, undeniable chorus across the galaxy. His closest allies began to distance themselves with panicked haste, fearing being implicated in his monumental crimes. His authority crumbled faster than a dying star. The Crimson Blade, leader of the Crimson Daggers, contacted Alara and Ghost on their secure channel, her voice tinged with a satisfied, almost predatory glee. "The galaxy is on fire, Alara. A truly beautiful, cleansing fire. Vane is cornered. His own fleet is showing signs of mutiny, officers questioning his every command, and the High Tribunal, under immense public pressure, has just issued a galactic warrant for his immediate arrest." "What about Valerius?" Alara asked, a lingering concern for the shattered commander. "He's vanished," Crimson Blade reported. "Took his remaining keepers and disappeared into uncharted space. A loose end perhaps, but not a threat. For now, he's too broken to be dangerous." Days later, safe within the hidden sanctuary Whisper had guided them to, a small, unassuming research outpost disguised as an asteroid mining station, far from any established lanes, Alara and Ghost watched the culmination of their efforts unfold. News broadcasts showed the dramatic images. Grand Admiral Theron Vane was arrested on his own flagship, the Iron Will, by a detachment of his own officers who had bravely turned against him. His face, usually a mask of cold, calculating control, was now a mask of furious, disbelieving rage as he was led away in binders, his once celebrated legacy shattered into a million pieces. The cheers of the public, broadcast across every channel, were deafening, a sound of collective liberation. It's over," Alara murmured, tears in her eyes, a bittersweet victory. A profound sense of loss for Rex, but an even stronger surge of purpose. Rex would have been incredibly proud. "It is not over, Alara Reese." Whisper's gentle, ancient voice resonated in their minds, now filled with a solemn hope. "The Veritas Protocol has shattered the illusion, revealing the deepest wounds of the galaxy. But the galaxy is still fragile. Old structures have fallen, centuries of lies have crumbled, but new ones, based on truth and justice, must now be built. The fight for true freedom, for a truly honest and equitable galactic society, has just begun." Whisper then revealed a crucial, uplifting truth. The Libertonians, though scattered and believed extinct, were still alive, living in hidden enclaves across the galaxy, slowly rebuilding their culture and preparing for a possible return. The Veritas Protocol was not just a historical document, it was a rallying cry, a call to their scattered people to reunite, and a demand for galactic accountability, a return to the principles of truth and non-aggression. "So what now?" Alara asked Ghost, her voice filled with a new, burning purpose, a quiet determination that mirrored Rex's own. "Rex sacrificed everything for this truth. We can't let it be in vain. We can't just walk away." Ghost, for the first time in their journey, removed his reflective visor completely. His face was surprisingly young, almost youthful, his eyes kind, yet bearing the deep wisdom of a man who had seen too much darkness. Now we help build the new order. We expose more lies. We ensure Rex Vance's sacrifice truly means something. We find the Libertonians, and we fight for the galaxy he believed could exist. The galaxy was in unprecedented turmoil, a grand, unpredictable crucible of change. The Council's authority was severely weakened, its legitimacy hanging by a thread. New alliances were already forming, old rivalries reigniting with newfound intensity. The Shadow Keepers, stripped of their leader and their false purpose, were in disarray, many of them seeking their own paths to redemption or revenge. Alara, now an accidental but undeniably potent revolutionary, no longer just a brilliant scientist, understood the magnitude of their new mission. Rex had sparked the revolution with truth. Now it was up to her and Ghost, along with Whisper's guidance and the unexpected, chaotic help of the Crimson Daggers, to help guide its unpredictable aftermath, to ensure justice was served, and that the galactic future was built on honesty, transparency, and true freedom, not deception. Their journey as truth seekers was indeed just beginning, and the stars, once symbols of distant, indifferent power, now glimmered with the fragile, hopeful promise of a new dawn.